Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today. For this one, we are going to do another thing that is a little bit different. So yeah, as some of you may know, I was down in Singapore recently. And unfortunately, the first video that I filmed down there was really negative due to an owner that was really pretty rude and confrontational. He's well known through the craft beer industry for being a bit of an abrasive character. And, a lot of people tell me they just don't want to engage with him. And it's a very small industry, so it makes sense. The whole point of the channel is to be positive and to spread the word about good craft beer, and that's what we're going to do in this video. So this video is called some of the craft beer places you should visit in Singapore. Now, little disclaimer on this one, there are a hell of a lot of good craft beer places in Singapore, so I only got to visit a small fraction of them. So we're going to go through it, and I'll tell you about some of my experiences. Some of these you will see as out and about videos, because I did film those. Other ones I just went and had a little look and tried the beer, so we'll talk about those. But unfortunately, one negative experience that I had in Singapore seems to have blown up, and that might take away the attention from the plethora of very good experiences I had. So let's focus on the positive. That's what it should always be about. So a few technical things about Singapore before you go there, if you like, if you're going to go and drink craft beer. Price wise, for a beer in Singapore, a craft beer, you're talking between 15 and 20 Singapore dollars for something that's locally brewed. It can go up to like 25 and a little bit more if it's something brewed in Australia, Europe, the US, something like that. So let's just say at the bottom, let's say 15 Singapore dollars. So that translates to roughly about £7.50, £8 sterling, €9, maybe 10 American dollars, something like that. I'm not sure about Aussie dollars or whatever, but those are the rough prices you're talking when it comes to a pint. You do get half pints in quite a few places, but it is more common to drink beer in American pints, like 473 milliliters, or the little half pints, which are about 240, something like that. But you don't get too many flights in Singapore. The main reason for that is the heat and the humidity. So if you pour 5 beers and you're going to drink them slowly, by the time you get to the 5th one, it's going to be too hot and all warm and stuff like that. And that's not what you want. So drinking flights in Singapore isn't actually all that common. Now, in terms of the local craft breweries, there are a good few that are worth mentioning, actually. So the one that really is top at the moment, from what a lot of people have told me, is Alive. So I got to try quite a few beers from Alive, lagers, IPAs for the most part, and those were really damn good. They were very much on the same level as the stuff that you're finding abroad, because Singapore is still growing in terms of its craft beer industry. But Alive Brewing are awesome. Red Dot Brewing, I had some really good German style stuff from them, actually. I was quite impressed with them on the German side of things. I didn't get to try too much outside of that. That Singapore beer project, they've got some really kind of interesting and unusual beers, actually. So they're definitely worth checking out in terms of novelty factor, and the quality of the stuff is good as well. Sunbird Brewing, I was very impressed with on the malty side of things. A lot of people told me, I only got to try 1 or 2 from them, but a lot of people have told me that they are very good on the kind of big imperial stouts and stuff like that, and that certainly proved to be the case. Outtamost was another one that I encountered. I originally called them Osmanthus, which I think I must have just read the sign wrong. But Outtamost, I had an IPA from them and an Imperial Stout, I believe, and those were both very, very good. So that's another very small up-and-coming brewery that you should keep an eye on. I also got to try a number of beers from 1925, and those guys are really interesting because they're doing sort of light, sessionable, and food pairing-y type beers. So they're not so true to style, but that's not the intention. They're meant to be, easy drinking, easy going, and paired with food. And they're, as I say, they're very, very quirky beers. Now, there are obviously a number of brewers that I haven't mentioned. One of them, of course, would be the famous Pink Blossoms Brewing. I actually tried one of the beers. I tried the IPA, which was called Centre of the Universe, which apparently is dedicated to entitled people. It was actually all right. It was all right. It wasn't mind-blowing. Like, it definitely wasn't on par with the beers from Alive, but it was decent. So yeah, make of that what you will. It wasn't anything to really write home about. It wasn't the best balanced, but it was okay. It was all right, but not as good as some of the other stuff that I had from the other Singapore beer producers. But anyway, to talk about some of the venues that you should visit, right? Those are some of the breweries that you should try, in my opinion. So to talk about the venues you should visit, probably the classic one in Singapore is the Smith Street Taps. So that's in one of these hawker centres. It was on the first or second floor, if I remember correctly, in the Chinatown area. They actually have two stalls, and the first one, when you go up the stairs, I believe you'll see, is the one that sells a lot of the foreign beer. And the one over the other side is called Smith Street Taps and Friends, and that one sells mainly the local beers, actually. So I went for the local stuff because that was the stuff that was most interesting to me. But you know, that place is somewhere to go to get the classic Singapore experience. So yeah, that is one of the places to go and check out. Really, really good stuff there. They had some, I think I drank a Niang beer there as well, which I forgot to mention in the last one. Niang are doing some very, very good stuff as well, and they seem to be quite a well-rounded brewery, in fact. After that, I went to BeerForce, which I forget the name of the area that's in. It's out toward the west a little bit, but BeerForce was a great little beer shop. It was mainly foreign stuff that was in there, like Australian, New Zealand. There was quite a little bit of Korean stuff as well, actually, and a few things from the bigger American breweries. But that was a really nice shop, actually. I had great fun chatting to Deborah there, who is involved in the brewing side of things as well, actually. Lovely, lovely girl, and I went to a few other places with her later on as well. So yeah, BeerForce is definitely worth checking out. A lot of people say that is the best craft beer shop in Singapore. All of the links to these places, incidentally, will be in the video description below. So after the unfortunate incident with, well, I say unfortunate, it's quite funny to be honest. After the incident with Pink Blossoms, I went to Locality, and that's an awesome bar, actually. It is a little bit of a trek from the MRT station, but definitely worth it. It was a little bit difficult to find because it's down in the basement, so I think you need to go round to the side of the building and go down the stairs. But Locality was awesome. The owner, Dennis, lovely guy. Cannot compliment him enough. But when I was there, I had beers from Alive that I mentioned earlier. The Biru Please, the rice lager, was lovely. I had an IPA from Outtamost. I think that was the West Coast IPA, if I remember rightly. And then I also had the triple IPA, the anniversary IPA from Alive Brewing, which was awesome. And I finished off on one of the Sunbird Imperial Stouts. And that was great. I had a really nice experience in there. It's quite interesting. A lot of the customers kind of came and helped serve the beers and things when it got a bit busy. I think Dennis might have been the only official employee that was working that night. So yeah, that was a really interesting experience. But Locality, awesome. As I say, check them out on, I'll put some of their links in the video description below. Yeah, after that, I went out to the Little Island venue at Changi and met a guy, Dr. Joe. What's his handle called again? Dr. Joe, as he's known as. Surgeon, lovely chap, very well known in the Singaporean beer scene. And he and I enjoyed a couple of beers there. He was in a couple of videos. You'll see an out and about video from the Little Island Brewing location in Changi. And yeah, it was a really nice experience. Very good food. The beers are sort of more old school and solid out there, but you know, the prices are normal. The food was really good. And it's a really nice location. A little bit further out the way, you know, you have to, you know, plan to make the journey out there. But that said, Little Islands do have two other venues that are a little bit closer to the centre that you can't visit. But that's not the OG location with the brewery. So really up to you. I wanted to go to the OG one because that's one of the kind of unwritten rules on the channel. I like to go and visit the breweries' tap rooms or the breweries. But yeah, no, I would recommend that. Go out to Little Island and have a little look. Another really interesting place where I filmed an out and about video was iBrew. So iBrew is Singapore's first homebrew shop, and I met Raymond there and a bunch of other home brewers. But Raymond was an absolutely lovely chap. Apparently he knows everybody that is anybody in the Singapore beer scene, because a lot of them have started out by getting their stuff from his shop. So yeah, it's in the bottom of like an apartment block, and they've got fridges through the back where they're brewing lots of different stuff, and they've got a whole host of equipment. So I actually filmed the channel's first homebrew shop visit. So you'll see that appearing in the next maybe 2 weeks or something like that. I'll make sure that video gets published fairly soon. So yeah, I would recommend a little trip out to iBrew, even if it's just to meet Raymond and chat to him a little bit. Really impressive selection of like hops and things like that from, you know, all over the place. Quite a lot of malts and you know, just equipment. Really great shop actually. It was a really cool experience. That not somewhere that I'd normally check out for the channel, but you know, very, very positive experience once again. And I got to meet some like really, really nice people. Yeah, then after that I went to Orh Gao, and that was a really cool venue actually. They had a really interesting food menu. Unfortunately, the thing that I wanted to try wasn't available at the time. I think it had been quite busy across the day, because that was a Saturday if I remember right, so it makes sense. The thing I wanted to order wasn't there, but I did try some of the snacks and things, and that was really, really nice. So Orh Gao is definitely worth checking out. Charlie, the owner, was really, really nice. Sat and talked to me a little bit, told me about his venue and things like that. And yeah, on the taps they had a few Singaporean things. It was kind of a mix, almost like 1/3 local, 2/3 kind of interesting foreign stuff. And they had a nice cabinet full of different things from across the world in bottles and cans actually. So yeah, Orh Gao, definitely worth checking out as well. The other one that I would mention is Gulp, and that's actually quite close to the centre. Gulp's a really nice bar. I had a little bit of banter with the English owner in there. I forget his name, but yeah, he was really nice. They've got a great selection of stuff in there, mainly foreign things. I think that's mainly a kind of foreign beer craft beer bar, but it's lovely, very well located. You know, prices are normal as well. But yeah, I actually drank, I'm sure I drank a Tempest beer in there if I'm not mistaken, because you know it was kind of cool to find the Tempest beer on tap in Singapore, and I hadn't had that one for a while. I think it was Brave New World actually. So yeah, Gulp is definitely worth checking out as well. The next day I went to Blue Smoke, which is part of 1925 Brewing, or they're kind of sister companies basically. So when I was there I got to meet EK and Ivan. Sorry, I keep wanting to pronounce that the Swedish way. I met EK and Ivan, who were awesome. You know, I got to try quite a lot of the food there, the pork belly and the brisket, and you know, the meat was lovely. It was really, really nice. I got to film a nice little interview with EK, who told me about both his brothers' methods of cooking and things, and the history of the brewery. So not going to talk too much about Blue Smoke on the video, because that will come out in a later video. But yeah, I really would recommend that. That again was in the kind of sort of south to east part of Singapore. Quite an interesting area actually. I should have written down the names of all these areas before filming this one, but what can you do? Yeah, but they're, as I say, they're doing 1925 are doing sort of food pairing type beers, light and drinkable, really interesting adjuncts in them, but yeah, sort of food pairing type beers. Yeah, so the next place I went to in the evening was SG Taps, which was actually really close to my hotel. So the owner, who I only spoke to very briefly, Hirose-san, Japanese guy, again, very, very nice, as you'd expect from the Japanese, extremely humble. But yeah, when I was there, I tried an alt beer from Red Dot, and that was really nicely done actually, very, very true to style, and it's a difficult style to get right actually, especially with the yeast and the heat. Then I tried one from the Singapore Beer Project, that Singapore Beer Project, that was a white IPA. That was interesting, but not quite as good as some of the other beers that I had from that Singapore Beer Project later on, so we'll come back to that. Then I also tried the Pink Blossom Centre of the Universe there, because I saw it on tap and thought, you know, why not? But yeah, as I say, it was decent. Not as good as the ones I had from Alive, but you know, solid enough. It was had a little bit of wheaty bite to it, a little bit of green to it, so I think it maybe could have matured a little bit more. But yeah, it was all right, as I say. Decent beer. Shame I couldn't have talked about that guy's beer. and had to talk about him instead. So there you go. But anyway, on to the positive. Stay on the positive. After that, I went to Good Luck in on Haji Lane, which was really nice. I actually had intended to go to MALT first, but MALT didn't open till later, so I went to Good Luck, and I actually got to meet Valencia. I forget her handle now on Instagram, but I'll make sure I put that in the was it Beer Maiden or something like that? I forget. But yeah, I'll put her link in the video description below. But she was lovely. They had a lot of local stuff on tap. It was pretty much all local stuff that was on tap there. So I tried quite a few different beers there. It was mainly that Singapore beer project that was there, and I forget the name of the other brewery that they had, but they mainly had 2 local breweries there. But I tried a lot of different stuff. I tried a Mexican lager. I tried 2 different IPAs, a double IPA and one that had orange in it, a sort of hazy one. I also had a stout that had some adjuncts in it, and I forget the very first beer that I tried actually. I think it was called Mud Something, and that was really nice too. So I had a really nice time talking to Val, and then Deb came and joined me at that point as well. That area of Singapore is really interesting because apparently that one street is where you can drink in that area. It was I think they called that area Haji, and they had some really nice bars and things like that there. But obviously that was the one you wanted to go to if you wanted the craft beers and things. So it was a little bit pricier there, but from what I'm told, that was just because of the area. So yeah, a wee bit pricier, but yeah, it was fine. Had a really, really nice experience. After that, we went to, Deb and I went down to MALT, which a lot of people had recommended that I do. That was a really nice modern bar. It was pretty much all foreign stuff there. So I actually drank a red double IPA from Mountain Culture down in Australia. So that was a wee bit pricier again, but it was a good experience. And as I say, a lot of people told me to go and check out that bar. So I wanted to go there and have at least one. So definitely worth checking out that one as well actually. So yeah, go for it, but just be aware, I think they tend to open a bit later in the evening because a lot of the people involved there, from what I understand, work day jobs and then do the craft beer stuff at night for fun. But yeah, after that we went up to Lil's, and Lil's was great as well. Really well known for its burgers apparently. And I tried one of the burgers and it was lovely. The burger was really, really nicely done. Good selection of beers, mainly foreign, but they had, I think they did have 1 or 2 Singaporean beers, but the owner, or one of the owners, Kenny, if I remember his name correctly, Kenny was lovely as well. And yeah, Kenny was great. He was saying mainly, I do tend to focus on the foreign beers and stuff like that. So yeah, I tend to focus mainly on the foreign stuff. So yeah, I had a really nice time there. I think I drank one of the Alive beers first, if I remember correctly, and that was a West Coast IPA, really, really nicely done again. Yeah, I think we finished off with a Tempest Imperial Stout, if I'm not mistaken. So that was really cool. And I also bought a can of Mountain Culture from there, and I also got, Kenny actually gave me a Pinta Barrel sour beer, which was really generous. So yeah, I had a really, really nice time at Lila's as well. There were a couple of other places that I wanted to check out, but I just didn't have the time. One that was really recommended to me was American Taproom. So yeah, the next time I go to Singapore, we'll probably call this video places you should visit, craft beer places you should visit in Singapore part 1, because we will add to it. I'm going to go back to Singapore at some stage. But yeah, there was the American Taproom, which I was told was very, very good. Mainly American stuff, obviously, hence the name. There is also one called the Beer People. Like if you want to buy local cans and bottles and stuff like that, the Beer People is one of the ones you do want to check out. I would have popped in there to get some bottles and cans, but unfortunately it was Monday that I learned about this place, and on Mondays it was shut, and I flew away very early on the Tuesday morning, so unfortunately that one couldn't happen. Another beer shop I've been told that is worth checking out is Tempo Cellars, which is up in the kind of north of the island, but that one I think does a lot of foreign beers, and it's kind of more a general good alcohol shop rather than being simply focused on craft beer. I also heard that Red Dot that I mentioned, I heard that they have their own little tap room too. So yeah, that was somewhere I would have checked out earlier if I'd realised about that one. But yeah, all in all, like I say, some very, very positive experiences some very, very positive experiences from Singapore actually. So definitely far outweighing the one negative experience that I had, which seems to have blown up. But yeah, I think this was a nice video to make too. Some of the craft beer places you should visit in Singapore, because we want to give praise to those that are due it. So that's a nice list. As I say, I'm going to go through the video again, I'm going to upload it and then put the Instagram links and stuff like that for these places in the video description for you below. And yeah, go and check them out. Go and meet some of these people that I mentioned, because they were absolutely awesome. You know, yeah, Joe, Deb, EK, yeah, Val, Kenny, Charlie, all of these guys were really, really nice. And Raymond, of course, from iBrew. I met some really, really great people in the Singapore craft beer scene. So very positive things to say about that. So yeah, as I say, all the positives far, far outweigh the negative. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Like I say, there are a couple of out and about videos that will be published over the next wee while. We've got iBrew, BeerForce, Little Island, Changi, and we also have Blue Smoke as well. And I'm sure I'll be back in Singapore to film a wee bit more at some point in the fairly near future. So yeah, we'll leave it at that. But yeah, thank you again for watching. Check out my social media, check out all the stuff that I put in the video description for you below as well. And we'll see you guys later in another out and about video or review or something like that. Ciao just now.